Guys, welcome to this new channel Pharma Soulmate. Today we'll be discussing about a very simple and a basic topic in the field of pharmacy. The topic is prescription. So this topic is mainly covered during the initial semesters or during the initial course of the pharmacy under the subject of pharmaceutics. So, and moreover, all of us have visited doctors in our lifetimes, their chambers, and whenever we visit the physician chamber, what the physician do, they just take a piece of paper and they write lot of instructions regarding the medications which we need to take for our illness. The associate directions, the lab tests, the reports which we need to provide or which we need to undergo. So all the informations are written by following a protocol. There exists some technique, some rules should be followed. These rules will be explained today. So now moving to the next part. So at first, what is prescription? Before that, I would like to tell that today we'll be covering the definition of prescription, then the parts of prescription, what are the different parts or what are the different precautions which you need to follow while writing the prescriptions, then handling of prescription and the errors which come while we just when the pharmacists just write prescriptions. So moving on to the definition of prescription. Prescription is an instruction written by a medical practitioner to a pharmacist that authorizes a patient to be issued with a medicine or treatment. So prescription is generally written in English. It's written in English with Latin terms present as abbreviations. These terms like BD, PC, DID, these are certain abbreviations of Latin terms only. Now, considering the parts of prescription, prescription has total 8 parts. The first is the date on which the prescription has been issued, the name, age, sex, and the address of the patient. That means it includes the total demographics of the patient. Then superscription, inscription, subscription, signature, renewal instruction if any present. If the physician wants to provide any sort of renewal instructions, then only. And finally, the name and signature of the prescriber who is prescribing or who is writing the prescription. So moving on to the first part. The first part is the date. So what is date? Basically, the date refers to the day when the prescription is written by the prescriber. It helps the pharmacist to find out the cases where prescription is brought for dispensing long time after its issue. Thus, it helps in determining the validity of the prescription and it avoids unnecessary refilling of it. Prescription containing narcotic or other habit-forming drugs must bear the date, else this can be misused. So what happens actually? Some of the drugs, some of the medications are life-saving, are important, as well as these are very much addictive or this may produce some sort of addiction. So what happens? Patient might just take a prescription and they may ask the physician to provide the medication for their own benefit, for their own sake, or for getting the joy or the euphoria. But the disease is already cured. It may happen the disease is already cured, but the patient is now asking or was going to the pharmacy shop and asking to get that same medication again. because they are habituated with that drug. So what happens is that that's why a date is always mentioned in the prescription, so that the pharmacist who is just checking, who is just accepting the prescription, he or she must check whether the prescription is too old or not, or whether any renewal instruction is present in the prescription or not. If no renewal instruction is present or the prescription is too old, then the pharmacist should not provide that medication actually, especially the drugs which are very much potent, which are very much habit forming in nature. So here lies the significance of the date. That's why date is very important. Next comes the name, sex, age, and the address of the patient whom the prescription is intended for. These details avoids the possibility of giving the finished product to a person other than the one it is meant for. So these are actually nothing but the identity mark, the identity number of the mark. So we all know what is the importance of an identity card or an identity number. When you just go to office or you are in office, just provide us that with the identity card. So this name, sex, age, address is likewise the identity of the patient or the person whom the prescription is intended for. Now, there are certain protocols, certain techniques while writing the name. That means the name has to be written in full, should be complete. Each sex of the patient helps to ensure that the correct medication and dose is given, especially in case of children and in geriatric patients, and to avoid errors in case of someone having similar needs. So what happens basically? This pediatric patient or geriatric patient, that their metabolism ATME profile is totally different. ATME means absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion profile. So their dose requirement, the frequency requirement is totally different from that of a matured adult person. So this information helps the pharmacies to identify whether the prescription is intended for the use of that person or not. The correct person, the person with the correct age or the correct sex or not. Also, sometimes it may happen that a lot of people have similar names. Two persons might have similar names, and if age is not present, then it sometimes becomes very difficult to identify who is the correct person, who is the correct person to whom the medication has to be dispensed. Or sometimes there can be cross allocation of medications, which may leads to medication error as well. So that's why this age is important. Now moving to the next part, the address of the patient is recorded to help for any reference at later stage to contact the patient or to deliver the medication personally or in case of any dispensing. So what happens basically? Sometimes the pharmacist by mistake may deliver a wrong product to the patient or the consumer. Now, after delivering the product, the pharmacist may realize later that the medication which has been delivered to that concerned person is not correct. So, if the address or the phone number of that patient or the consumer is present, then he or she can just call him over telephone and just ask him that this medication was erroneously delivered and there was a medication error from their side and thus needs to be altered. The the medication needs to be changed. So here comes the significance of address as well. Next comes the superinscription. the sign RX is nothing but the superscription. Lot of pharmacists use this term DRX. So all the idea, the concept lies here only. The RX is nothing. Is Latin word which means recipe, meaning take thou or you take. That means what happens in the name of God. Before doing any good activity or any good work, we just have a habit. We just pray to our God. For example, if you are going for an exam or a job interview, just pray to God that God, please do a favor for us today. Please help us today. So we always just pray to God for any of our good activity or for anything. We just blame God or we just pray or wish something from God only. So while writing prescription, the physician, they just put a symbol RX. That means in the name of God, I am writing the medications for you, and you are now allowed to take that medication. So a symbol which was considered as a prayer to Jupiter, the god of healing, for quick recovery of the patient, but now this symbol is understood as an abbreviation of the Latin word recipe, means take thou or you take. If it is not present, then written piece of paper cannot be considered as a prescription by law. So this mark is very important, very, very important, because or else otherwise a normal paper can also be considered as a prescription. So these identity marks will make that paper special. That paper should be considered as prescription by law on the basis of this mark. Next comes inscription. This is the main part of the prescription, which contains the names and the quantities of the prescribed ingredients. The names of the ingredients are written each on separate line, followed by the quantity ordered, and the last item written is generally the vehicle or the dilute. Vehicle is nothing. Vehicle, as we know, vehicle means a carrier. Means, for example, cycle, motorbikes, then bus, these are considered as vehicle. That means they are used as carrier. They carry us from one place to another. Similarly, the medication is also a carrier. The medication cannot be taken or it cannot be taken directly. It needs lot of other additives, adjuvants, or some aids basically to make it a finished product. So vehicle is something which is vehicle or dilute is something which is generally used in medications to make up the body, and it increases the palatability and the accessibility of that medication. Complex prescription consists of three parts: base, which produces the desired therapeutic effect, that means the active pharmaceutical ingredient; then adjuvant, which increases the palatability or enhances the action, that means different non-pharmaceutical additives which are added, which are mixed along with that active pharmaceutical ingredient to increase the acceptability, and vehicle, which is used to dissolve the solid substance or increase the volume, mainly for liquid formulations. These are done, means different solvents are used to increase the volume or dissolving the substance. Now next part is subscription. Subscription consists of the instructions which are provided by the prescriber to the pharmacist for preparation of the medication, the dosage form to be prepared, the number of doses to be prepared, this etc. etc. What happens is medications are available in ready-made nowadays. So what happens is that these instructions are usually not provided or not written by the registered medical practitioner in the prescription, because most of the pharmaceutical companies, in fact, all the pharmaceutical companies, almost starting from the raw material to the finished product, followed by packaging, etc. All the things are handled by these companies only. So all the medications are available to the pharmacy shops, which are in the form of ready-to-use preparations. That means these are not non-compounded medications nowadays. Non-compounded preparations are available. So this part is completely omitted. Next comes is the signature. Signature is the instruction given by the prescriber to the patient regarding the administration of the drug. It includes the quantity of medication, number of units, dosage, frequency to be taken, the manner of use, etc. Some abbreviation like take 2 tablets 3 times a day, then BD, EC, HS. These abbreviations are often seen in prescription. PDPC, ODAC, these kind of abbreviations. So these are nothing, these are the part of signature only, which refers to the frequency or the dose which needs to be captured, which needs to be taken by the patient. Next part is the renewal instructions. The number of times the prescription or the course needs to be repeated needs to be added, especially in case of potent or habit-forming drugs to prevent their misuse. Or else what happens if the renewal instruction is not provided for such sort of prescriptions, then the patient forgetting any additional therapeutic effect or some additional benefit will keep on continuing or keep on renewing the prescription, and they will just go to pharmacy shop and ask for that particular medication repeatedly. So which may produce a severe consequences to their health. So such instructions are provided by the physician whether this needs to be renewed or not. And accordingly, the pharmacist should dispense the drug. And finally, it comes the name, signature, registration number of prescriber. So the importance of signature, we all know that when somebody is signing a document, that means he is authenticating the document. He is holding himself responsible for that document or the terms and conditions or the things which are written in that document. So here also the prescription should be signed by the issuer who is issuing the prescription, the physician or the other registered medical practitioner, so that he is taking the responsibility of the entire prescription, the entire medication which he is dispensing actually. If any sort of problem occurs with the patient or the consumer after taking those medications, then he will be held responsible for that only. So it is mandatory to put the signature of the prescriber with waiting. So what happens is the entire prescription can be typed. It is not necessary the prescription has to be handwritten. It can be typed also, but the signature part should be mandatorily signed by using running hand, using a waiting. This eliminates the danger of dispensing medicament on a spurious order, and it authenticates the prescription. The prescription must bear the address and registration number of the prescriber, especially for narcotic and habit-forming drugs. So again, this issue is coming. The prescription of narcotic and habit-forming drugs is very, very, very much critical. So each and every time certain special precautions should be followed while the case of narcotic and habit-forming drugs. The person issuing and the person dispensing should be very, very, very careful. So the types of prescriptions are basically of two types: the compounded one and non-compounded one. Compounded is the includes the instruction is provided by the pharmacist on how to prepare the formulation just before dispensing, also known as extemporaneous prescription. Nowadays, compounding is omitted for prescription. As I've already said before, that nowadays all the medications are available for as ready to use preparations. So such instructions are not provided by the physician to the pharmacist regarding preparation of medication. So these are not seen nowadays. However, non-compounded prescriptions include those which we currently see in today's era. These are widely used nowadays. The pre-compounded drugs are supplied by pharmaceutical companies by their proprietary names. So the as different physician, they just write the name of the preparation, the name of the brand name or the marketed name, and they just ask to the pharmacist to dispense that only. So these are non-compounded prescription where there is no tedious work or no work in just preparing the medication while dispensing. So these are some of the Latin abbreviations which are used in while writing prescriptions. From here you can see the most widely used are PD, OD, TDS, TIT. These are very, very widely used in while writing prescription. This PC is also important. Stat is also important. It is only seen in prescriptions. Then there is another one which is not present here, SOS, which is also widely seen. So SOS means in emergency or in case as and when required. So handling of prescription. Now pharmacist when receives a prescription for dispensing purpose, he or she should follow some precautions or some protocols while handling prescriptions. So there are 4 steps: receiving, reading and checking, collecting and weighing the materials, and at last compounding, labeling and packaging. So the first is the receiving. The manner of receiving, the body language you are showing or the pharmacist is showing while receiving the prescription is very important actually. A pharmacist while receiving a prescription from the patient should not change his or her facial expression that gives a wrong impression to the patient that he or she is confused or surprised after seeing, as it may cause unnecessary worry or anxiety to the patient. So what happens basically? Sometimes it happens that the prescription contains some thing or some instruction which seems to be vague or which is not appropriate and the physician might have mentioned it by mistake. So the pharmacist on seeing it should not put a horrible expression just before the patient. He or she will just observe it and just go to the back end or back door or just discuss with his colleagues or directly call the physician regarding the doubt which he or she is having while understanding or reading the prescription, or if something wrong is suspected. He or she should not make any sort of odd facial expression or odd body language or odd attitudes before the patient. Next comes is reading and checking. The prescription should be checked for legality, legibility, completeness and correctness behind the counter only. Mind it, it should be done behind the counter, not before the eyes of the patient. A prescription is considered to be legal when it has been written and signed by a registered medical practitioner and has all information to be contained in part of the prescription. The prescription should be clear and legible. The handwriting should not be guessed. If any confusion arises, then the pharmacist should consult his colleague or consult the prescriber over telephone. So, these are some of the examples of illegible prescription at the right side. So the handwriting is so illegible, so bad that it is very difficult. It is completely it cannot be depicted what it is written actually, and nothing is allowed to guess. The pharmacist cannot guess any name actually, because drug names are very much big. These names are not simple also, and even the spelling, even single alphabet change of is can lead to a different drug. For example, I am saying the digitoxin, digoxin, just one or two alphabet change in both these names, but the entire substance is getting changed. So the names are very important, and we cannot guess anything. If any confusion arises, then immediately the physician should be consulted. Completeness checking includes checking the complete details of the patient, physician, the registered medical practitioner, product name, the name, strength, potency, dosage, frequency, direction for use. So what happens sometimes, if these informations are missing, then this should be discussed with the physician, because one example I'm considering, for example, paracetamol is available in various strengths. It's available in 500, 600 mg, 1000 mg, as well as it is available in tablet form, in syrup form. So if these informations are not present, then it is not possible for the pharmacist to blindly guess and provide, for example, 500 mg of tablet. So this should be discussed, this should be consulted with the physician, and physician should provide the actual information, the actual strain, this potency, dosage form, which needs to be prescribed or which needs to be dispensed to that concerned person. Then collecting and weighing the materials. Before compounding, all the materials should be collected from the shelves along with checking the level. That means all the containers will at first just check the level of the containers and will just take out from the shelf. And all the materials should be kept on the left side of the balance, which has to the materials which needs to be weighed should be kept on the left side. And after measuring each the materials, they should be placed on the right side of the balance. And while measuring, the level should be rechecked. Means again the leveling should be checked. And after compounding or prescription is done, the materials are replaced to the shelves and drawers from where they were collected. And at this stage also the leveling should be checked. So we are checking the leveling thrice. The pharmacists are checking the leveling thrice. The first is when they are just taking out those containers from the shelves for dispensing. The next is when they are just weighing the materials in balance. Then they should check the level, and at last when they are just again putting it back to the desired places from where they were taken out, then also the leveling should be checked. So excessive precaution is very much important. So next part is compounding, labeling and packaging. Only one prescription should be compounded at a time. and the compounding has to be done in a clean table, because if multiple prescriptions are being compounded, then there might be medications might be cross allocated to different patients. It can lead to medication errors. All the equipment required should be clean and right. The preparation should be prepared according to the directions provided by the physician or the registered medical practitioner, or as per the authorized pharmacopoeial form, that means IP, USP, BP, as per the instructions provided there. The compounded medicaments should be filled in a suitable container with an appropriate level depending upon the quantity and use. While delivering the prescription to the patient, the pharmacy should explain the administration, direction for use, and storage in detail as well. So actually the compounding process, we have got the idea how compounding is done. So compounding is basically a very lengthy process. That means prescription should be received, then those prescription has to be carefully read, and after that the preparations formulation has to be prepared, then labeling has to be done. So it is a time consuming procedure, and that's why these compounded medications are not available nowadays in market. All pre-compounded medications are available nowadays because it saves time. Lot of time is saved actually. Now, sources of error in prescriptions. So as the topic is covered, so far as we have discussed, so we have seen that the prescription handling is very much delicate process. It has to be done with lot of precautions, very much cautiously. So if this is not done correctly, so there could be lot of possibilities of error. Many silly errors can take place which may cause severe life-threatening problems for the patient. So what are the sources of errors? The first is abbreviations. So different abbreviations are used by the physician to save their time. So they just say, they write something very much vague terms, and it becomes very difficult for the pharmacist to guess what the term actually is. So what happens, for example, the acro, sometimes the physician they use this term acro, but the acro could be acromycin or acrostatin, anything. So until and unless it is clearly mentioned what acro is, so the prescription should not be used for dispensing. Actually, it should be consulted with the physician. So the next is the name of the drug. There are different drugs which look alike or sound alike, like digitoxin, digoxin. This I have already said before. Then indocin, lincocin, althrocin, elthroxin. The names are very much similar. So the names of the pharmaceutical products have been changed on certain occasion to avoid such confusion, because these names create too much of confusion, and if the handwriting is not good, handwriting issue is also there, then it is very much difficult to identify what the prescriber is just prescribing. So the especially thing is that clear, legible handwriting should be maintained while writing, especially writing the names of the drugs, because it can lead to lot of confusion, and in past lot of instances has happened where this confusion, or due to this handwriting issue, lot of people have died because they were being prescribed the wrong drug based upon the wrong illegible handwriting. So this should be taken care of very much, and if required, cursive letters should not be used. You can just use normal English alphabet instead of using cursive. So strength of the drug prescribed. A product must be available in various strengths in market like paracetamol available as 500 milligrams, 650 milligrams, 1050 milligrams. So if the strength is not mentioned actually, it's just the pharmacist, the physician is saying PCM. PCM means paracetamol. It is well-known abbreviations, so it is accepted worldwide. So if physician is mentioning PCM, but no strength is mentioned, then this prescription should not be accepted. It has to be clarified with the physician because it could be anything. It can be of any strength. Also, the dosage from the drug prescribed is also important because lot of preparations, lot of medications are there. These are available in various dosage forms like liquid, tablet, powders, capsules. So the pharmaceutical form should be mentioned clearly. Dose of the drug. High dose or low dose may present a problem, especially for pediatric patients, as their ADME profile or the metabolism profile is not similar to that of adults. Their metabolism capacity is very low. It should be discussed if required. Even frequency is important. A sustained release formulation is not intended to be prescribed 4 times a day. Ideally, it should be twice a day. So, what is sustained release formulation? These formulations are basically meant to control the release, just to provide a prolonged release for a long period of time. So mainly at a minimum of 10 to 12 hours. Even some such formulations are meant for 20 to 24 hours as well. So if a sustained release formulation is provided for 4 to 5 times per day at such a dose or such a frequency, then it makes no sense actually. So 4 times per day is basically meant for immediate release formulations or just the formulations which does not provide a prolonged effect. So this should be taken care of. The pharmacist should ensure what the physician is writing actually, because physicians, they don't have much knowledge about these formulation aspects, immediate release, sustained release. So if something confusing or contradictory informations are present, then the pharmacist should check and just get it sorted out with the physician. Finally is then another is the instruction to the patient. Sometimes these are omitted or mentioned partially. So patient instruction is also very important, and it should be seen for the completeness of those instructions, whether these are present or not, or else it may lead to errors. The pharmacist can just provide the instructions, they can just make the instruction, but actually what happens, physician or the registered medical practitioner should provide or should write the instructions documented, should mention this documentation in prescription, which is important. Now, another error, it is a very important error, incompatibility. Incompatibility is basically a huge chapter. There are a lot of things which may lead to the incompatibility of prescriptions. So what happens when prescription is being prescribed? Lot of drugs are prescribed in prescription at times, and patient also takes lot of food in their daily lives. So naturally, one drug may interact with the other drug, and the drug may also interact with the food which patient is taking, and it may alter the therapeutic effect of particular medication. It may either enhance the therapeutic effect, or it may decrease the therapeutic effect, or it may produce some unexpected therapeutic benefit, or because it may occur that drugs are basically chemicals, and these chemicals may, when taken together, may just react with each other, and what happens, a new substance might be formed, and it may produce something different, some sort of new compound which may produce different sort of pharmacological activity which is not desired. So these interactions should be studied thoroughly before prescribing any sort of medications. Patients' past history, past medication, or the concomitant medication which patient is taking at the particular moment should be discussed with them before writing any sort of prescription. So incompatibility is defined as a change that results in the formation of undesirable product upon mixing antagonist substances which may affect the safety, efficacy, appearance and stability of the pharmaceutical products. It is basically of three types: physical, chemical and therapeutic incompatibility, but it can also be with the containers in which the medication is stored. The interaction between the ingredients of one formulation or two active substance of food can lead to several life-threatening consequences. So here I have highlighted one example, the example of different fluoroquinolone antibiotics like ciprofloxacin, norfloxacin, ofloxacin, then tetracycline group of antibiotics. These are basically, they can form complex with different metal ions like calcium. Milk has calcium in it. Different dairy products has calcium in it, and there can be a complex formation with calcium with that of these antibiotics. And what happens? It will lead to the delayed absorption, or it will prevent the absorption of those antibiotics, and as a result, the desired effect will not be produced. So it is suggested that these dairy products should not be taken with such antibiotics, or such antibiotics should be taken around 3 to 4 hours after taking the dairy products or before taking the dairy products. Then suspending agents, emulsifying agents, solubilizing agent, wetting agents, etc. also added to prevent different sort of physical incompatibilities. And licorice loses its flavor due to precipitation in presence of acid. This is an example of chemical compatibility. So this incompatibility is basically a huge chapter which will be discussed in our later topics, on some other topics, when we'll be discussing on some other day. So this incompatibility has lot of insights and lot of things in it, which is very important for us as well to know. So that's all from today. Hope you have enjoyed this presentation. Please like, share and subscribe this channel. Thank you. Bye bye.